Hello, heathens.
Season 3.
Dude, I just got actually like a really big wave of excitement. We've been talking for like 2 freaking hours, but like,
Seriously.
holy first episode back. We're back, baby.
Here we
Freaking
are.
back.
Now there's a couple changes this year.
Yes. Give it to him.
One one of them that I am remembering at this point is we're gonna do every other Thursday because we are ready for that. I think it'll be more comfortable for us and we can deliver better content that way.
Yeah, because especially like, okay, first year we did, all about like interpersonal stuff, which, Nicole and I are pretty passionate about. So we had a lot of thoughts and feelings and concepts and ideas for that already. And it was easy
Hmm.
for us to like bring all of that, right? But then last year we got more into like bigger research stuff. And this year is big, big research stuff because there is some big
Yeah.
topics that we're really curious about. And it's not easy to do that in a week where we have full-blown lives outside
No.
that as well.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, so we all have these mental issues of like ADHD and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, look, we only do the research when we have the most pressure on us, which is 5 o'clock the morning of the podcast. And that's the way we do things. And you can't do that
No.
when you have stuff that has a lot of information about it where you can like watch a 2 hour documentary and then like because the information on some of the people that we're like the one we're bringing up now, which is Nikola Tesla, is there's so much different type of information out there, um that you kind of have to comb through it a little bit better so we can present a clearer picture on it, especially because I am not an engineer or
Yeah.
electrical engineer.
Yeah. No, same. That's
I
outside of my pay grade, baby.
Right. I barely know what AC means and DC means, and the fact that like like that's
Real as fuck though. Cause I was like, I'm like typing this down and I'm like, AC motor, whatever the fuck that means.
right.
So, just to give you guys a rundown of like what this year kind of looks like, we're doing like big topics. Like, we're going to be talking about a couple bigger, like people that we are curious about, like Nikola Tesla's one of them, Plato's one of them. We're going to do some haunted stuff. We're going to do some death ritual stuff. We're going to do like gods and goddesses and different cultures. And like one of the big ones that I'm excited about is Atlantis because you hear about it, but yeah, I hear about it and all I think about is the Disney movie. So we're
The
doing some
Disney movie.
big stuff like that that requires time for us. And like also, I think that for me and Nicole, with the way our lives are, man, trying to keep to this every week thing was kind of rough this last year because, vacations and things that come up in life and like we were like, I think every other week feels more fitting and it gives us more time to like actually like have a day off in between to be able to like dedicate to like watching some stuff or like when we did what was the serial killer guy, the don't drink the Kool-Aid guy, that guy.
Oh, James Jones. Jim
Yeah,
Jones.
Jim Jones. It's like I wished I could have finished the documentary I was watching, but I didn't have enough time to because it was like fucking
Yeah.
3 hour and a half long episodes.
Right, right. And there's so much information in there. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that, and these shorter ones, like you miss some things that might be more, potent to like the vibe and the brand that we have, which is more of
Yeah,
metaphysical, occult, and stuff like that, the unseen kind of stuff, instead of it being like um more of what mainstream likes or whatever that is, right? So
right.
and that's the thing is you got to dig a little bit deeper, especially with like a lot of these people because they've been done so much.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So catch us every other week, which is going to work out nicely too because of holidays.
Right, right. Vacations.
vacations.
Hmm.
Um, but I think it's going to feel more relaxed, and then we're going to come to you with better knowledge and be able to actually have like full conversations instead of just reading information for you guys, you know? Because like Nikola Tesla was interesting. At first I was like, why are we looking at an engineer? Because I was like, I don't know. And then I started getting into his weird quirks and the rituals he had, and I was like, huh. And then I started getting into these other ideas that he had, and I was like, this is interesting. I wouldn't
Right, right.
I wouldn't have looked him up without you.
It's a total mesh of like being in the material world and also being in the metaphysical world or the occult world. Like you see where the combinations come together, where he's clearly channeling whatever higher consciousness
Yep.
to get these, especially at that time between, he was born 1856 and they didn't have a lot of information at that point. It's not like they had phones or Google to like look up stuff. They literally had to like go to university and then like get a basis of thought patterns and then be open to, because if the information, if I don't know how to like make a electrical arc, but I don't, um how am I going to get this information and do something about it? Right. So, like, you have to have the basic understanding of it for it to evolve from that.
Yeah, what put that in perspective for me and what made me think about that was like, because you hear 1856 and you're like, yeah, 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 whatever. I have no
Right.
idea what that
Right.
time period looks like. But then it was like,
Right.
well, put it into perspective was him being an employee of Thomas Edison. And I was like, what? Because like you hear Tesla all the time, right? Because of the cars and all that. And I'm like,
Right.
that's what I think of when I think Tesla. I don't think about, holy crap, this man was alive a long time ago and worked under Thomas Edison. That's crazy to
Hmm.
me. Because that's
And then
a,
they got into a fight.
and then they got into a fight.
Mhm.
Sure did. Okay, so let's get into Nikola, which is
All
funny.
right. So this is just a little breezy over like some of the history of him. Um, he was born July 10th, 1956, in a small village. It's, and I'm gonna butcher this, but Simjan, Australia Empire, which is now Croatia. Um, his inventions were of the AC alternate current. So there was two types of current when they were starting out with electricity. One was DC, which is direct current. So it just was like if it was on, it just went. Now the problem with this is that it would heat up a light bulb and you would have a lot of like heat with it. Where YAC was better because basically they did positive, negative, and they alternated the electrical pulses, basically. And I am not an electrician, so this is me regurgitating bullshit. So, um, negative, positive, and it didn't heat up as much. So that's why one ended up being better for everybody instead of the other one. So that's the difference between like DC means direct current, like point A to point B, where alternative current means that it goes back and forth, like it's a pulse.
And the AC can go further and not
Right, right.
lose as
That's
much
right.
energy. Yeah, so it's
Absolutely.
like how we get power now, it can go from the power plant all the way out and not lose energy. Like
Right,
DC
right.
couldn't. DC, you were losing a ton and it would barely hit your house essentially.
Right, because that's what they were saying is that Thomas Edison, because he was a big fan of DC, so he would have had to make a plant every mile for
Yeah.
the current to be strong enough to reach somewhere.
Yeah, and
And
power anything.
AC, right, and AC didn't need that.
Yes.
Um, so the invention of the AC inductor motor and the Tesla coil. which I do believe that like the Tesla coil. So what's interesting is I was thinking about this today. And I was like, well, it's interesting that we don't have like a Tesla coil because like free energy and wireless and all that kind of stuff. And then I was like, wait a minute, wireless. We kind of do have it. And I feel like when they put up those big towers that we were all like the wireless towers that we have right now is basically doing the same thing. It just doesn't look like a Tesla coil. It doesn't have like the electricity that we can see.
Yeah, because I guess it
Um,
to put it in those kind of perspectives when it comes to like technology like that, it's like medieval uh stuff compared to, like a more modern century where it was like that looks like somebody put a whisk on top of a freaking cylinder and said, "Yeah, this is gonna power you
yeah.
up, dude." And you're like, "That's a whisk on a freaking aluminum like cylinder. It looks like nothing."
Uh-huh. That is crazy. The stuff that they came up with. Yeah, look up some of his stuff because it's amazing. So wireless tech transmission of energy. So he created the Wardenclyffe Tower, which his big dream was that it would have been free energy, free electricity for the entire world. Um, and because we live in a capitalist society, that was never going to work. Um, This transmitted free wireless energy globally through the project but the project was never completed because of that. Um, the other thing that he invented was radio and communication tech. So in 1943, the Supreme Court credited Tesla with patents that contributed to the invention of radio. Previously was credited to Guillermo Marconi.
Hmm.
Right. Okay.
If you're new here, welcome. If you know, you know. Hmm.
Words are hard.
Yep.
Especially, yeah. He also innovated the lightning and the X-ray imaging. So he didn't invent it, he made it better.
Yes. Yeah, it's like it was like almost like taking a sketch and like actually putting it into like the universe and like fixing it and being like, no, now this works. It's like if somebody
Yeah.
comes to you and they're like, hey, I have this idea for this thing and I kind of like put it together and you're like, I'm gonna actually put that all the way together.
Right. Like I got you. Let me show
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
And that was very interesting because he called it like shadow imaging or something like that, didn't he? It was some sort of like um shadow. I thought it was so cool.
It's like it gave like short range it like what the when he was experiencing with x-rays it basically gave short range demonstrations of radio communication, so yeah, it was like a imagine capturing a ghost picture.
Yeah, yeah. He was the
Right.
first one to have an image of a shoe with a foot in it. Like that was one of the first X-ray machines that he had come up with.
I can't imagine what that feels like to come up with this shit and it works and then you're like, oh my god, that's your freaking
Yeah,
bones in your foot inside of the shoe.
right. To be like, oh my God, look at this.
It worked.
He also developed fluorescent lighting. And the machines that he innovated was invented the bladeless turbine and explored concepts of vertical takeoff in crafts. He also worked on a couple things that were a little scary, like an earthquake generator, which it's funny because they start off with like, I'm going to do this and it will probably stop earthquakes. But then then you could also use it for evil and start earthquakes.
Right.
So the concept of this was that basically a frequency or a sound wave would resonate with an item so forcefully that it would end up breaking it apart. And we see this happening when earthquakes and suspension bridges, they get to a certain like wavelength and it starts to like go back and forth, and then all of a sudden the bridge like falls and fails. Um, he did something like a death ray, and I can't remember. I didn't look at that, so he
He also like was one of the first person people, well, he was the first person to create man-made lightning. Did you see that?
that's cool.
So like he made what he thought was like one of his most important discoveries, and he called it terrestrial stationary waves. So he
Ooh.
basically proved that the earth could be used as a conductor and made to like resonate at a certain electrical frequency. So like he lit 200 lamps without wires from a distance of like 25 miles and created man-made lightning. So it produced
Oh,
flash.
I did read that. Yeah, because he had all
Yeah.
these bulbs, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And at one time during that, he was also certain he had received signals from another planet, and claimed that he met with like different beings because of that. And that's what started it was like the man-made lightning.
Man, it's so fascinating. The fact that he could, did you know that he was born at like 12 midnight and it was thundering storm? Like that was part of his like
I did not know that.
he was born in like a thunderstorm, and that's why like they think lightning was his thing, his gift or power or whatever.
Origin story.
Origin story. He is a Superman. Um, let's see here. Oh, we don't care. I still think it's interesting that he was he died penniless. And I always find this concept very interesting because we've started a pattern, right? Like so like H.P. Lovecraft, like what was the other one? Aleister
Crowley.
Crowley. Yeah. A lot of these guys, like money wasn't the big motivator for them. They needed money. And they had great concepts that we're still talking about them today. In fact, there's a whole car concept on just him with his name on it. But yet, these people died penniless and alone. Like he died alone in his bed.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I just found out more. I just forgot I had this little, I found it in my like 1 million notes about the death
Right,
rate
right.
too. So like just to give you guys like also a quick backstory, like in the way of he worked for Thomas Edison in his country or moved to Paris, worked for Thomas Edison in Paris, then moved to the US. He got hired into like I think it was the Manhattan headquarters there. Had all these ideas and concepts. Basically, him and Thomas Edison get in a fight. And he goes to work for this Westinghouse guy. So then Westinghouse starts taking his ideas and really like funding all of his work. Well, then they also get in a feud, if I'm remembering correctly. And
Hmm.
they have to go through all of this like legal stuff about like royalties and all this stuff. And Tesla finally gives up his royalties and then like goes out on his own. He tries to create his own electrical wireless power project thing, right? And like he tries to do like it's like for us in Michigan, DTE versus consumers, he's trying to come up with his own like energy source. Well, then when that failed, that's when we get to the death ray. So like
Yeah.
after he had like a nervous freaking breakdown because we haven't even talked about his mental illness yet, or his quirks and the rituals he did and all of that. But
Oh, yeah.
when he returned to like work after the mental breakdown of like the closure of his wireless power plant, he was working like as a consultant, but then his ideas started they kept flowing, and they started becoming like really outlandish and like these really big, wild, crazy freaking, ideas.
Hmm.
And he started getting more and more eccentric, you could say, as time kept going on. And then
As
he,
one does.
yeah, right. So he started drawing the attention of the FBI. um, with his talk about building a powerful death ray. And then it started also receiving, and the reason FBI got involved too is because it started receiving interest from the Soviet Union during World War II. So he never really
Hmm.
created one, but he had this huge idea of it and was like trying to like put that idea out into the world. And then like all of a sudden now Soviet Union's like, "Ooh, death ray, come on,
Yeah.
let's hear it."
Excuse me.
And the
Yeah,
FBI is like,
we're
"Excuse me."
interested.
Everybody's like, "Excuse me, what the fuck? No, shut it down. What are you doing? We're not even,
Down.
don't even put a sketch out. What are you doing?"
Hmm. Oh my
Wild.
God. It's so wild. Well, you can go ahead because that's all I got on his
His history.
on his history. The rest is more of the energy because um what he thought energy. So energy I've got is a frequency and vibration that are the key to understanding the universe. He believed that energy is everywhere in the universe, that humans could harness the natural energy of the earth, the sun, and the atmosphere. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, is what he said.
Hmm.
So then frequency was the fundamental principle of underlying all energy, matter, and the universe. He believes that every vibration at a certain frequency, and by understanding and harnessing these vibrations, one could improve technology, control energy, improve technology, and unlock the universal secrets. Frequency is not just a physical concept, but a universal key to understanding both science or seen and unseen of the natural forces.
Hmm.
So basically, energy is what it is. Frequency is how you communicate with it. And then vibration is the fundamental force of the universe. So this indicates connection to energy and frequency, that everything in existence vibrates at a specific frequency. And by the understanding and manipulation of those vibrations, one could influence matter, energy, and even consciousness. So if energy is the tool and frequency is the language, then vibration is what you're going to see. That would be the outcome, if you will, or the outcome of, so this would be your what's the word I want? Conclusion.
Hmm.
So if you got enough energy and you had the right verbiage or the right language of it, of what you wanted to do, then the vibration that you're seeing would be your conclusion of your the manifestation.
Okay.
So if energy, let me see if I can do this. Energy is what you're using. And then you formulate to what you're trying to manifest with the frequency. Then vibration is the manifestation.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm almost with you, but it's almost a bit. It's like, you know what I mean? That's like
I do.
big
It's
thoughts,
big
big
thoughts.
brain.
All right, so maybe this will help a little bit because then we have ether. So understanding of ether was the universal medium pre-meeting all space, through which the light energy and uh electronic magnetic waves could travel. Okay. Unlike later dismissal of etheric concept by mainstream physics, After Einstein's theory of relativity, Tesla remains convinced that ether is real and fundamentally to understanding energy, transmission, and structure of the universe. Etheric was the fabric of reality and living in dramatic fields that carry energy, vibration, and information across the universe. He viewed this as a key to free energy, wireless communication, and deeper cosmic truth. Um,
Makes sense to me.
right. So this would be like, it would almost be like, have you ever heard of like plasma, etheric plasma? So like, they like a ghost would manifest psychic plasma, right? Like
Ghostbusters.
it's like the physical manifestation of etheric energy or energy, right? Like it's the plasma that comes out.
Get Ghostbusters.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
slime.
the best like slide.
Slime.
It's
You're
like the
right,
best like
right, right.
visual for those that need a good visual. Ghostbusters.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Yes, that's exactly it. So now this is the whole thing is how do we put all four of these concepts together so they make, and this is the big brain thing, and I'm not gonna like try and pretend like I can put these puzzle pieces together. But this would be if you can understand these concepts, I feel like you would understand how to manifest completely in the universe.
Yes, agreed.
So energy, frequency, vibration, and etheric energy. And that's all I got on that because my brain hurts me. I mean, I have more, but like that's
Okay. Well,
your
let's go
turn.
back to something that's not, we'll take a break from the hard because this is
Oh,
like
thank
one of
God.
those episodes where we'll go easy, hard, fun, hard, because like it is, he's a very interesting person. But let's go
Hmm.
back to his history a little bit because I also think this, like, some of this explains to me his like weird quirks. But like things that I found interesting from his history, because like I'm not here to give the full history lesson, obviously, but his father was a priest in the Serbian Orthodox Church, which I found fucking super interesting, and his mom managed their family farm. This man comes from a very religious slash hometown, like we're gonna run our farm and we're gonna go to church on Sunday, slash I am your father and I am the priest, who's then going out into the world and creating all these really big concepts and big things when it comes to science and theology. And
It makes so much sense now because his father was spiritual and his mother was matter. Like it's so like
thank you, buddy. Put it right in words for us.
seriously, it's so interesting that okay, okay, go ahead.
Developed in the way he did, right? Yeah.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
there's a big trauma too that pushed this into
Of
happening.
course, we have to have trauma.
Trauma makes us big and strong.
Moves. It makes us move.
So when he was 7, his brother Daniel was killed in a riding accident. And that shock of the loss at 7 years old of his brother being killed was what they reportedly say started him seeing like his visions, because he would hallucinate a lot. He would get a lot of these ideas through visions, and it was the first sign of what they called his lifelong mental illness. The loss of his brother fucked him up so bad that like this caused him to go into full blown his stuff with mental health.
Hmm.
So then we know he grows up, right? He goes to college, he learns all the stuff he needs to do. We've talked about all that. And then what I also found was interesting, let me find it again here, is that after the Westinghouse thing, after the electrical company and all this stuff, he tried to own his own place. It got burned. His lab burned
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
in New York. Then he relocated to Colorado Springs, which, if you are in the metaphysical world, you have heard that Colorado Springs is a very spiritual place. I don't know why, but people love going there.
It's the energy, right? Like, didn't they say it was the energy of, that's why he went there, is because of the frequency that Colorado had,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
makes sense, right? That's why everybody goes out there.
Everybody goes out there. Everybody wants to
Like
go to Colorado.
Arizona and
Yep.
Sedona. Sorry, I don't know why I said
Yeah, it's
that.
okay. So he goes there for 2 years. Then he goes back to New York. He secures financial backing, builds like this global communications network thing, the tower thing that you had talked about on Long Island. But then his funds run out, right? And then this is also
Well,
weird.
yeah, because the way his funds runs out is because they did it. He was backed by
JP.
JP Mortgage, and uh, when he built it, he was supposed to be building a radio tower, and he didn't. He created this other thing. And when the investor found out that he was trying to create free electricity for everybody and he couldn't profit off of that, he nixed the idea completely.
Yes, because like
Hmm.
we'll get into like all the mental health things and his weird rituals, but as he got further in, I mean, the man just kept becoming more and more and more and more and more eccentric, and then his
Yeah.
schemes kept getting it's like grandiose schemes of I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this and now this
Yeah, yeah.
one. It's like I think about it like in like weird like random adult like comedies and stuff of like animations where it's like a scientist that's just like I'm gonna do world domination with this, and now I'm gonna go back to doing this. And it's like these weird, crazy schemes that just keep getting bigger and bigger. This was essentially
Hmm.
Tesla. And then
Hmm.
this is what I just again crazy that a lot of these commonalities between these big people that had these big ideas and these big impacts living the last decades in a New York hotel where he's working by himself as his energy and his mentality are fading, working on these little freaking projects and little inventions, and he's
Hmm.
tinkering in his hotel room as his obsessions get bigger, his weirdness gets bigger, and then he freaking just dies alone. But he had like 30 plus patents and all these things and never made a freaking penny off of them.
Hmm.
Well, like, without this weird eccentric man, we would not have a lot of the shit we have right now.
Absolutely. I think without him, we would not have a lot of things. We would not have computers. I don't think we would have phones. I don't think we would have any of that stuff because his the way he thought about things and electricity and really trying to get it free for everybody, like that was the part of him really pushing this forward. I think it's the only way that you're going to receive that kind of information is that it has to go through a person that literally wants to do it not for himself.
Yes. Yep. Agreed with that.
Mhm.
So that's all the like those were like key points that I was like just similarities and like Twinkie Dinks are like always like very interesting to me because how is it coincidental that this man who creates these big ideas around energy but also spirituality and all these other things. It his dad's an Orthodox priest and his mom's like the
So
literal
fascinating.
physical manifestation of working on the earth,
Hmm.
working with the earth.
It's fucking phenomenal. Like, I think that's so amazing. Because when you said that, I was like,
Yeah.
um, can we talk about his quirks? Because I really love the fact that he loved like saving pigeons and was so obsessed with it.
Dude, yes. He
That's
literally
my
never
favorite.
married, partly because he was OCD in the way of like also a germaphobe and like was literally like, have you ever watched the movie Aviation about Howard
Yeah.
Hughes? It
Yeah,
reminded me
yeah.
of Howard Hughes because like Literally, he had to wash his hands a lot. He had to clean everything. He would like wear gloves because he was terrified. It got so bad to the point he would boil all of his food in water because he looked at his water out of like a tap in a microscope and saw what was in it and literally decided he's never not boiling every single thing that he eats.
Hey, I could get there. I could be there.
What a life to live, man.
Seriously. I have to remind myself sometimes.
He obsessively washed his hands. Refused to
Mm-hmm.
shake a hand. He wouldn't touch people. So yeah, he never
Mm-mm.
married essentially. And then later on in life, the man became obsessed with the pigeons and would be caught in the
Mm-hmm.
park feeding the pigeons a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And most interestingly, hung out with one pigeon in particularly the most.
He had a wife.
He had
Didn't
a
he
pigeon.
call her wife? Yeah.
He
No, he
was
didn't do anything weird like, have sex with it or anything. He just loved that pigeon.
he loved the pigeon. He reportedly said, I loved that pigeon as a man loves a woman, and she loved me. As long as I had her, there was a purpose to my life.
Mm-hmm.
His bachelor, the article I was reading was, of course, from Briannica, my little encyclopedia one.
Uh-huh.
Tesla's bachelor lifestyle likely stemmed from his belief that intimacy would interfere with his scientific research. And
Mm-hmm.
he once observed, I do not think you can name many great inventions that have been made by married men. At the time,
That's that's probably true, actually.
yeah.
I mean, like, I'm sure married men like make inventions. I'm not saying that, but like it would be hard to be married to a person like that because their life would not be dedicated to you at all.
Not even close. Yeah.
Yeah, you would have to be very understanding.
Yeah. So in 1922, Tesla reported that the white pigeon had flown into his room to tell him that she was dying. And before the bird passed, he said a white light shone from her eye, brighter than anything he had ever generated with his electrical machinery. And Tesla was heartbroken after her death and told friends that at that moment he felt like his life work was finished.
Oh, when did she die? How old was he?
1922.
Oh,
So,
well, he lived another 20 years after that.
yeah. And those
Did
last two
he?
decades were when he was like in his hotel,
Yeah, yeah.
just doing little inventions himself. So a lot of the idiosyncrasies and all these quirks too came from his insomnia. He had insomnia really bad. He claimed he survived on just 2 hours of sleep each night, although he took short naps throughout the day too. And he would work on his experiments throughout the night. And
Mhm.
his lab assistants reported that he would often become so fatigued around an intense period of work and lack of sleep that he would just simply collapse in the middle of his experiments and fall asleep at his desk. And that chronic insomnia, if you guys want to look up insomnia, it's pretty interesting actually. It fucks your brain so hard. Because I'm sure it's through his mental health and like these compulsions and like the rituals that he had into even further full-blown stuff, you can hallucinate from insomnia. Insomnia is very interesting.
Well, they used to use it as a form of torture. This is how some of the witches they would make people confess because they would keep them up for so long that they would.
Listen, your girl goes 2 nights of sleep of only 5 or 6 hours, and I feel like I'm fucking drunk. I'm hungover. I haven't drank anything in a week, but guess what? All of a sudden, it's the same effect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like
Mm-hmm.
struggling to like be like, wow, I'm out on a boat.
Right.
I can't imagine only sleeping 2 hours a night from like my life. I'm taking little brief naps in between. Like that just, of course, that would fuck you up, man.
Right. No, it's that whole thing is like you gotta let your mind rest. But But also I can see like how that would happen because you have so many thoughts that you can't. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have words to say about Nikola Tesla?
She has thoughts and concepts too.
Yeah, she's like, listen, I could see like it's almost like you wouldn't have enough life to get everything out that you needed to get out. So sleeping would be useless to you
Yeah,
because you had to get this stuff out. You have to test this, you have to do this, you have to like you're running out of time.
right. Well, and then it's no wonder his like ideas kept becoming so much more elaborate and like these big like
Hmm.
schemes almost because it was like these ideas that's a lot of time to be thinking when you got big brain, Tesla brain.
Well, and you're running experiments and you're getting like, if I run an experiment and I get this conclusion, but it's not, I'm like, oh, okay, so if I adjust this and then run the experiment again, and then you're like, oh, it's almost there. You know how when you're almost there, you will sit there and do it over and over and over and over and over again because you're almost there. Think about a game that you like, I had one more thing to like do,
Yeah,
but I didn't have enough moves.
right.
I ran out of moves. So then I'll do it again. And I'm almost there. And you'll sit there for hours doing the almost there thing because you're like, I got to do it.
Well, and then so OCD, the way that OCD works is it's not just the rituals, it's not just the counting, it's there's the obsessive part of it that people forget
Hmm.
about too, and it can just be
Hmm.
one specific thought you get stuck on. Now for most people that have an experience OCD, that can be super detrimental because it can be a mean obsession, right? A mean thought that they're having that they can't get rid of. But also for, others, it can be stuff like this, where like he gets stuck on this thought and then like he can only, it's like blinders, straight up blinders is what that's doing. It's like AC, 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 AC. It's his brain is just constantly this, and
Yeah.
nothing else. There's nothing else around it.
Yeah. There's no eating, there's no drinking, there's no sleeping, there's no like, he probably had, I bet you 100% that he had like somewhere to go to the bathroom that was close to him so he didn't have to get so far away from
Oh yeah, 100%.
right? Like, because you
Mhm.
can't stop. You can't stop. That's what obsession is you can't stop.
Yep. And then that obsession leads into compulsions because compulsions help you to feel like you are controlling the obsessive thought. So, like, he was obsessed with the number three.
Yep.
He would walk around a building 3 times before entering it. He would fold 18 dining napkins before eating because it was divisible by three.
Hmm.
He requested room and hotel that was divisible by three and specified that he required like 18 fresh towels delivered every morning. That's like, God, that's a lot to be like, I have to have this. I have to do this. I gotta.
Yeah.
I read that he had a phobia of round objects.
Phobia?
Uh-huh. And couldn't remain in the company of women who were wearing like earrings.
Oh yeah, I did see that where he didn't like jewelry or earring, like pearl earrings were like, "Ugh," like he couldn't.
Yeah, he hated I think it was the round.
Yeah, yeah.
Which that's so interesting. Phobia of round objects and then earrings. He's like, oh my God, get it away from me.
Get it away.
Get it away. Yuck.
Ugh,
Yeah, literally.
ugh.
Um, Yeah, so of course, with the insomnia, he had hallucins. Um, it- Although he also attributed many of his scientific successes to the inspiration provided by his experiences, his idea for like the AC motor was apparently inspired by hallucination of flashing light and flames.
Mhm.
I'm like, that's crazy. That's you flashing lights and flames, and you just say, "Oh yeah, that's an AC motor."
Yeah, right.
Okay, all right.
Well, I
Um,
mean, you could almost see it because, like, if you already knew that DC like existed, and you're like, oh, it's just one connection, it's one stream of energy. There's no breaks or anything, but then you're getting like a pulse or a like, oh, if I break it up, it doesn't acquire as much energy. It's like pulsing down. It's I don't know. That's I could see it because once you have like one thing, then you can be like, oh, we could do this with it, kind of.
yeah. I feel like I can also kind of grasp a concept, but to fully understand is not where I am at with my mental knowledge.
Well, I think we would have to literally go into electrician work to really get a foundation of like how energy works and what it does and how you make it like go from one to the other and why do we have a generator and why do we have a why what are fuses? Like, you know what I mean? Like this basic concept of like the subject, really.
Right. Um,
Hmm.
that's what I have for his like rituals and his OCD. 'Cause I was like, man, another coinky dink.
Hmm.
HP had some weird shit and so did Crowley.
Yeah, they all had like weird like obsessions and things that they needed to kind of like do science experiments on and figure it out. And we
Yeah,
all thought they were weird.
absolutely. What you got next for us, bud? Is it the spiritual metaphysical stuff?
So yeah, so like Tesla's metaphysical and occult like beliefs. So again, we go back to energy, frequency, and vibration. Um, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. This perspective aligns with metaphysical concepts where vibration and frequencies are believed to be the building blocks of reality and consciousness. Tesla believed that all matter and energy are connected, echoing concepts founded in esoteric tradition and quantum mysticism. Then we have con- oh, consciousness and intuition. Tesla often spoke of receiving flashes of insight and ideas that seemed to come from beyond his conscious mind, similar to how mystics describe receiving divine inspiration or universal knowledge. He once described his creative process as tapping into cosmic source of knowledge rather than a conversational reasoning. This belief resonates with metaphysic concept of universal consciousness or Akashic records as spiritual records of all events and knowledge. So this is where like he definitely felt like I mean they didn't call it obviously as Akashic records. I don't think he knew about that. I mean I don't know when Akashic records were actually like not invented but actually given a name to. Please don't step on my computer. But we can definitely see, like, for some reason, he was tapping into that kind of universal knowledge. You can't step on the buttons, okay?
No stepping down the buttons.
No stepping on the buttons. Did you
Okay.
hear her purring?
No, I didn't. I think that the noise canceling canceled that out.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh, where was that? I was looking that up because I was curious because okay, the Sanskrit term akasha was introduced to the language of theosophy through Helena,
Oh, Blavatsky.
thank you, who characterized it
Hmm.
as a source of life force. She also referred to
She's
indestructible.
fascinating too, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's going on the list. Um,
Mhm.
but it was introduced in Alfred Percy put it in his book. He was like, the notion of the Akashic records was first introduced into esoteric Buddhism in 1883.
Okay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so around that same time that he was probably getting that kind of concept, which also that guy probably was getting the same kind of connection to the universal knowledge.
Yeah.
No, no, do not step on the keyboard.
She said, all right, you're done. First episode
You're
back, cutting it short. Goodbye.
sorry. She's like, bye. You have to stop. Okay, so numbers and sacred geometry. So Tesla had a notable obsession with numbers 3, 6, and 9, believing they held the keys to the universe. As you said, walked around the buildings 3 times before you entered, or repeat different things multiple times. They're divisible by 3. He even had to stay in rooms that were divisible by 3. Um, Some metaphysical traditions view these numbers as representations, universal harmony, and divine structure, similar to principles in numerology and sacred geometry. That's a whole subject matter. So we should do one on sacred geometry too.
I also wanted to mention we did talk about manifestation, I think, in season one. And we talked about one of these methods that comes from Nikola Tesla, which is the 369 method, where you
Oh,
write out
yeah.
your affirmation statements 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, and 9 times in the evening. And you keep doing that every day for like, I don't know how long. But there we did do an episode on this because I was like,
That
huh,
sounds
that sounds
familiar.
familiar.
Yeah.
Ooh. It's because it is, because we did
It
that.
is, it is, it
It
is. Okay,
is.
so etheric energy and universal energy field. Tesla believed that etheric and invisible energy medium filled all spaces, a concept later dismissed by mainstream science, but still embraced by metaphysical and occult philosophy. He theorized that the etheric could be used to transmit energy and information across vast distances, hinting at the concept of akin to prana, chi, or life force described in many spiritual traditions. Um, I think they're just now, I mean, they've been searching this in the quantum field, the quantum science, whatever they called it, I forget.
Physics, maybe? Quantum physics?
Quantum,
Quantum,
is it quantum physics?
it's like quantum somethings.
It is definitely
Something.
quantum.
Quantum something.
But the fringe of science. So, like, these guys are bringing like those conspiracy theories into reality.
Hmm.
At least that's how I kind of see them as. Connection with nature and cosmic forces. Tesla often spoke with reverence for nature, believing it was a manifestation of a higher intelligence. So this is a big thought too. If you think about it, everything on the earth is God manifested. We didn't tell it how to do its thing, it just did. The grass doesn't care what you think about it, it just grows as grass.
Yes.
The flowers don't care if you think it's pretty, it just grows as a flower. Trees that like are designed the way they're designed, and if you look at them, you can see that they kind of resemble a lightning strike or a like the way it is actually um like the way the stick forms, it forms like electricity.
Which was, okay, hold on. This thought popped in as you're saying that because when you talk about nature and the way that looks too, that reminded me of the Fibonacci suite sequence.
Right, right, which is also not 369, but like, is what it goes 1, 2, 3, 6. No,
Okay, so it was
1, 2, 3, 5, 8,
0, 1,
13.
1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and so on. You got it.
Yeah,
Look at her
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Also, that I was curious too when that was first mentioned, and it was first described in Indian mathematics as early as 200 BC.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was later introduced to Western European mathematics by the Italian mathematician Leonardo of Pisa, also known as Fibonacci, and in his
Mhm.
book 1202, or in his 1202 book, Liber Abaci. That's forever ago. So I wonder, like,
That's crazy.
this obviously is a big brain kind of to the left, sorry, like little curve around here.
I like them. I
Thought, but
like them. I'm here
when you
for
were
it.
talking about how like he's like making lightning, right? We see it in nature, and then I'm like, I wonder if how the Fibonacci sequence would have worked with his brain and him and like his beliefs.
Yeah, that's because both of them are inherently the same. The
Hmm.
energy is what moves it, um, drives it. But the Fibonacci sequence is almost what uh, commands it to be in a shape or what it's going to physically manifest into, right? But it's weird because the Fibonacci sequence is lines and circles, where electricity is like this jagged little, like,
Well,
right? Like it's
yeah.
so different. And then how do those go together? Because they do. My brain.
And yeah, I like I said, I'm sorry, big brain left turn for a second to then go back to the right
Yeah,
to get back
yeah.
on the road, but I couldn't help it because like when I think about the Fibonacci sequence, the way it makes sense to me is it's like this perfect pattern where like nothing is the exact same again. You know what I mean? The 1, 1, 2, 3, and then it keeps going and keeps going. And when you understand the Fibonacci sequence, which I understand we might be speaking gibberish right now to some people. But
Hmm.
for, those of us that have some knowledge of it, it makes me curious because I think about that with lightning. I think about that with leaves and how like a stem is like perfect. It's like beautifully, it's a perfect balance and all these things. And I'm like, sorry, big brain thought. I don't know where it's
No, it's,
going, but it's somewhere.
yeah, because even if you thought if you put over, like, if you put electricity or lightning over the Fibonacci like form, what pattern does it go through? Does it go through all of them? And that's why it's shaped the way it is, right?
This also makes me the correlation of him and obsessed with numbers. Like it's like the Fibonacci sequence is three, what, 3, 6, 3, 3, and 8, no, 3, 3, 8, 3, 5,
3, 8,
3,
3,
5, 8.
5.
And it's like,
Yes,
I wonder though if he was close to something within that. You know what I mean? Like if his vibration was, and then I'm curious, did he know about the Fibonacci? I have lots of questions.
I have questions.
Questions and thoughts.
And he might have, but then again, like it doesn't really sound. He was ended up in New York, so he might have been well traveled, but like I don't think he ever, it doesn't say anything about him ever going to the West, but that doesn't mean he didn't necessarily didn't talk to somebody from the West, right? Like,
Right.
ugh, okay.
I know, I'm sorry. We can go back to easy stuff. My brain just could not. I had to get that one out.
No, I agree. I agree. Um, so we're back with connection, nature, and cosmic forces. His experiments were aimed at harmonizing with natural laws, suggesting a spiritual understanding of humanity, of connection to the cosmos. Um, Speculation about extraterrestrial communication. Tesla experiment with radio waves led him to believe that he might have received signals from extraterrestrials, adding a mystic dimension to his work with the unseen frequency and cosmic exploration. So he believed that he was a great receiver, and that's why he got these like ideas, because I'm sure a lot of people were asking him, like, well, how do you get these ideas? How do I get these ideas? That kind of thing. And he was just born with it kind of open like that. Um, while Tesla's approach to universal through scientific inquiry, his views often mirrored occult and science and metaphysical traditions. His focus on vibration, universal energy, and cosmic intelligence suggests that he saw science and spirituality as a interconnective, reflecting the ancient Hermetic principle as above, so below. And that's all I got for Tesla.
And to add to that, because I only have one more thing too, is that he also believed that the pyramids were designed to harness the Earth's
That's it.
natural electromagnetic fields, and it wasn't just crypts. And that, in his view, the pyramids acted as power plants capable of transmitting energy across vast distances. And I wonder if that thought started with him, because I've heard that before with like
Yeah,
really into Egyptian mythology, and like I had heard that before, but I didn't know where that concept came from, and I wonder if it started with Tesla.
I would have to say it would be weird if it started with Tesla
That's fair.
because it's such an old concept that, like, we would have to figure out. I mean, but like also the knowledge could have been lost and then refound. I don't know, but like if that was, it just seems so far apart for it to be.
Let's see. I think that would have to be a deep dive, bud, because like now I just saw one that said the late 1990s. Bullshit.
Oh my God, I wouldn't even. That would. I would have. Yeah, we have to look into that because that doesn't seem right either.
Yeah. Doesn't
That
it?
clearly isn't right.
Um, you know, are you guys ever gonna have enough topics to talk about? The way that our list grows and grows and grows is like insane.
Absolutely.
Um, power plants question mark? Theory?
Right. Power
Question mark?
plant.
And who was the woman that we were just talking about?
HP Blasky, or Madam Blasky.
Okay, cool. Uh, so that's Tesla, you guys. That's what we got, you know?
That was our filtration of all of him.
Yeah.
There's way more obviously in it, and a lot of that stuff was way above my pay grade, and it makes me want to be an electrician just so I can understand the way energy works and flows and um
I'm over here like thoughts and concepts of words. I have thoughts, I have concepts of words. That's as far as that goes, and I think I'm okay with it. Because I'm like, I like though that we have tried to simplify some of his thoughts in the way of like the 369 method for manifesting. I think that's really cool that like trying to take his idea of like that being a key and trying to use that. Because that was a big thing. I want to say like a year ago, 2 years ago, when the manifesting was really big and on trend for a minute there.
right, right.
369, people were coming out with their own journals for the 369 method and their own books and like a lot of stuff were the 369 method.
No, absolutely. Well, we as Americans are, you know, we literally take one concept and run it into the ground and beat it to death and then move on to the next.
Beat it to literal death.
Literal death.
And then we forget about it and then we bring it back around and beat it again.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. It's like we cleaned out our closet and was like, remember this?
Yep. Wear this shirt. It was my favorite shirt for a while. I wore it every week.
Uh-huh.
I'm wearing it every week again.
369.
Um, our next topic is Plato, the Greek philosopher. And I'm really excited about that one. I think it's going to be another kind of thoughts and concepts thing again, but
Mm-hmm.
that one's going to be a big brainy one, I think, as well, because I don't think we realize how many thoughts and concepts have come from that person specifically.
Agreed. I don't think we understand that at all. That's another one where like there was a lot of like if that was a seed, there's a lot of branches that come out from that one.
Yeah.
The expansive of thought, the expansive of how to think thoughts, the expansive of, whether it's spirituality or metaphysics or concept of life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Concept of life, Jesus. Small topics this year, you guys.
Yeah,
Welcome.
just little bits.
We're back, baby.
God, my brain hurts already.
I know, right? I'm like, 2 weeks is really nice for us. Because I felt, this one was like a week and a half, so I started it early. I kept reading, and I felt like I really did know this topic pretty well. Like there was some things
Yeah,
obviously I still had to remember because life is life and outside of this, but like it was cool to be able to sit and like be like, wow, I feel like I actually really could tell you about Tesla.
yeah, I agree.
I'm like have a good conversation because there was a lot of interesting stuff.
Well, because that's the thing is like it's not just, regurgitating words. It's like this is a concept, and how do we like the whole thing about energy, frequency, and vibration still is a concept that we could go down a rabbit hole of just like, okay, this would be frequency and this would be energy. And there's such a big concept with such a small word that again, we say it because we use it and it's familiar, but we have no idea of like it's literally so superficial that if I ask you what energy is, what are you going to say? Right? Like it
T-shirt idea.
it's a t-shirt idea for
Words aren't
sure.
just words.
It's totally a t-shirt idea because if I say frequency or vibe, because that's one that's is trending, vibration, vibe, like this is the vibe. It's what does that mean? How
Yeah.
would you explain what a vibe is to somebody or a vibration or like a frequency or how do you use it? What does it do? How does it move, act, and feel? Like it's a whole,
Words aren't just words. We say this all fucking time. One little tiny word could be
a
expanded
whole,
upon.
it's a whole world on its own,
Yep.
a whole universe on its own.
New Year, same us, man.
Yeah,
Gonna keep
that's
preaching
true.
you guys that these words mean so much more than just the dumb, like,
Uh,
oh, words aren't just words. Words aren't just words, and it hurts my brain sometimes.
absolutely. And thank you for hurting my brain.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, season 3, baby.
Season 3, baby. Here we are.
Go back. Big concepts, big thoughts. We're going
All
somewhere.
right. So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, babe.
Hmm.